Should you be waiting to Amazon Prime Day or Black Friday to buy your new PC gear for a build or upgrade? Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. We're going to talk about the best time to buy everything you're looking for, including items that might go out of stock by the time the sales roll around and you don't want to miss out. We're also going to jump into the Borderlands 4 controversy, the current FPS you're getting out of Borderlands 4, and compare it to other Unreal Engine 5 titles. Are they actually correct that this is the best they can do, or should they have done better? If you get value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel, and of course subscribe for more cool PC content. Let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Seasonic, who many consider the gold standard in PC power supplies. I recommend Seasonic PSUs because they're built to last and perform under load. For PC enthusiasts looking for ultimate performance, Seasonic's flagship Prime TX lineup delivers. ATX 3.1 and PCIe 5.1 compatible with 1300 and 1600 watt versions for maximum power needs. The Prime TX PSUs now come with updated 12 volt 2x6 cables for increased safety and reliability with RTX 50 series GPUs. And Seasonic's digital fan control means the PSU stays cool and quiet under load. If you are looking for no compromises, performance in power, thermals, and noise, check out the Seasonic Prime TX 1300 and TX 1600 using the link in the video description. So much to talk about. Let's start off with Amazon Prime Day just got announced for October, and of course we got Black Friday coming up. The big question is on everyone's mind, like Demos here, should you be buying now or should you be waiting for those holidays? Do I expect PC parts to sell out over Amazon Prime Day and the holiday shopping season? Yes, I do. We'll talk about those in just a second. They want to wait for the sales, but obviously it doesn't matter if they're sold out. You can't buy them. So let's talk about the sales. Amazon Prime Day in October just got announced 7th and 8th. So that's great. I actually thought it was going to be the next week, but 7th and 8th is fine. And then of course, we're going to get into Black Friday. Black Friday typically starts with early Black Friday, which to me is kind of real Black Friday. And that starts usually at the end of October. The latest it'll start usually is like November 1st or maybe even the first week of November. By the time you would get to Black Friday proper, which this year is going to be November 28th, it's the day after the US Thanksgiving holiday, then a lot of things do typically sell out by then. Then we get to Cyber Monday. And once you get to Cyber Monday and the holiday shopping season, it's really just kind of clean up and you're really kind of hunting and pecking for certain items. Other things continue to be available. So let's talk about what typically sells out during all the holiday shopping. Number one, graphics cards. Graphics cards go bye-bye very, very fast, especially the ones everybody wants, right? The models everyone wants, the lower price ones, the kind of the best value models, they typically get liquidated because there are some discounts. Now, AMD on GPUs tends to kind of make it rain with the discounts, whereas NVIDIA historically has been very, very stingy. NVIDIA itself doesn't give much discounts. They leave it up to their board partners like Gigabyte and Zotac and others to actually give the discounts. The problem is the board partners have very little margin to cut into to give those kinds of discounts. So you see only very small discounts. And then of course, retailers also offer potentially some small discounts as well. But the ones who could really offer the big discounts and kind of do a big rebate is either AMD or NVIDIA directly through their AIB partners to the retailers, et cetera, et cetera. So NVIDIA typically just doesn't do that. And there's this famous quote from Jensen basically saying he wouldn't give a discount to the Pope, because I get it. They don't want to diminish the brand through discounting. They don't want it to be a commodification of their graphics cards. They want you to look at their stuff like, it's, oh my gosh, we have to buy the NVIDIA, it's the best thing. Whereas AMD is really out there selling out overpriced. That's their entire kind of segment of the market out there. So they do cut prices. Now this year might be different. We have seen NVIDIA GPUs come down in price a lot faster. I say come down in price, come down to their MSRPs. Let's not get too excited. They come down to their MSRPs faster than AMD GPUs. Now, part of that is because AMD makes less overall GPUs and there's been way more excitement for them this year, but I don't want to paper over. I think by now, AMD, you need to get your prices down. You just got to do it. I did notice, for instance, the 96 XT prices came down to flat MSRP, which is $349, not $369, but $349. So that's great. The 9070 XT got another $30 discount. We'll talk about that in our upcoming best GPU to buy in October. You're gonna have to do better than that, quite honestly. And of course, there's other discounts like the game bundles. We'll talk about Borderlands 4. We will talk about that in just a second. I have a lot to say about that. But in terms of getting something for a value with your graphics card purchase in lieu of a dollar discount, like a lot of people were going to buy Borderlands 4 anyway. It's like, how can you not play the game that everyone's playing, right? That's a lot of people are going to get that. So if you're going to do it anyway, you might as well get it for free with the GPU. It's as good as a dollar discount. So that's the kind of stuff that I would look for. Other things that tend to sell out, CPUs to some extent, like the 9800X3D. Don't be surprised if that kind of goes away. 7800X3D is at a good price right now. Again, I don't know if those will sell out or we'll just see the prices go up. There's all this dynamic pricing these days. There's been a lot of this in the news where if people are buying a lot of stuff, it will dynamically, the algorithm will now dynamically raise the price in order to take advantage of whatever's driving that and make more money. We see that in motherboards, for instance. We recently released our best Ryzen motherboard video. I've noticed that we recommend a motherboard like, hey, this is great value. 5 or 6 days later, it's like the price has crept up at least $5, if not $10, sometimes even more. And you're like, what's going, well, yeah, I recommended it. I'm sorry. I recommended it because it was a good value. And all of a sudden it either goes out of stock completely or the price goes up. And oftentimes it goes out of stock and then it comes back in stock and the price has gone up. So I wouldn't wait too long to get what you want. If you see the deal, grab it. A lot of these places will have Black Friday protection or price protection. Newegg does that, for instance. If the price goes lower at Newegg and you bought it at Newegg, anytime through a certain date, as long as it has that Black Friday protection or price protection, fantastic. They do the same thing, fantastic price protection. You will get the difference back. Best Buy does something similar. So that's how I would be thinking about this going into it. I would already be prepared to jump on the best deal right now. And again, your time is worth money. Stuff selling out is disappointing. Like it's kind of a gamble. Like how close do you want to cut it to save 10 or 15 more dollars? If you're going to build a $1,500 gaming system, like I would just pull the trigger on the stuff that I want right now and just put it together and start enjoying it and not have to sit there and wait. All right, Forsake the Fate, love the channel. Great, fantastic. Congrats on the build. Hey, send us some pictures, whatever they call Twitter these days, Blue Sky, all the things. We'd love to take a look at your build. Do I think the addition of frame gen gives games like Borderlands 4, oh my gosh, what a disaster, an excuse not to optimize? Yeah, let's talk about that. The 9800X3D 5090 should do much better than 50-ish frames at 4K. And I want to actually, let's jump into some numbers here. I have seen people compare this basically to Cyberpunk 2077, and I don't think that's a fair comparison. I'm aware that Cyberpunk 2077 is now in Unreal Engine 5. However, they didn't start there. I want to compare it to a brand new game that was developed in UE5 from the get-go and launched in UE5. Let's start off and let's of course take a look at the numbers for Borderlands. Right now it's sitting at a mixed review, which is not good, by the way. It's not terrible. 22,397, and I think it's like 60, it says 65% positive, basically. We've seen games come out that are either negative or overwhelmingly negative. So I think obviously the game is good enough, even with the crazy low FPS that we seem to be getting out of it, for most hardware settings, even like a 5090, to basically warrant people are still having some fun. We've unfortunately become used to bugs in games at launch. I mean, look, there's been bugs in games forever. I get it. You can only squash so many bugs. You can only do so much internal QA testing. Then you send it out to everybody and there's stuff that you could never have fixed. I get that. And if you get that cleaned up, I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. I think what we're not fine with is the terribly low FPS targets. Because if you look, I mean, here's the graph. If you look at the reviews of it, just spend some time reading these Steam reviews. They're all basically like, this is terrible. This is not what I've come to expect from a Borderlands game or this style of game, which is a first/third-person shooter. It's a little bit faster paced game. And of course, we got the game dev from Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, basically telling us, oh, this is not an FPS. It kind of is. And I think that's the expectation. So when you're developing your internal targets, maybe you should think about that. Rather than lecturing us about what the game isn't, maybe you should listen to us about what this is your audience telling you what they want. Listen, I don't know why that's so hard for people these days. But let's compare this to a game that came out not too long ago, actually launched in Unreal Engine 5, and let's look at the difference. And that is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I never say the name of this one right for some reason. And look at this, 97% overwhelmingly positive, 63,000 reviews. That's insane. And this is a really nice graphics game. I'm aware that they're slightly different kinds of games. This is largely kind of turn-based, but there are some real-time aspects of it. And the graphics look amazing on it. They absolutely look amazing on it. But let's take a look at the FPS number difference here. Let's start with Borderlands 4, and this is Tech Power Up, and we're going to compare their benchmarks side by side, basically. So Borderlands 4 with an RTX 5090 at 1440p on the highest settings, which is badass. 62 average FPS. Yikes. So what if you have a 5070? 27 average FPS at 1440p. We'll get into the upscaling in a second, because they're not just telling you to use upscaling, by the way. They are telling you to use frame generation, and that's kind of where I draw the line. What about Clair Obscur 33? With a 5090, they got 95 average FPS. Wait a second. 62, click back, 95. That is a 50% increase of FPS. Similar engines, they're using Lumen, they're using Nanite in this game. Now, I'm not an expert in any of these engines. I'm sure some of you game developers out there are like, Jason, well, there's technically, that's fine. That's stuff that the company needs to decide internally when it's deciding on targets, because their target for a lot of hardware is basically 30 FPS, a console-like gameplay. And I think what people are saying is that's not good enough. And then for the higher end recommended hardware, it's 60 FPS. And again, people are saying, like medium settings, that's not high enough. So maybe they should start listening to that, because again, it is possible. Look at this game. It's possible to get that FPS, 50% more FPS. Let's look at upscaling. They kind of did different things with upscaling. Let's look at what an RTX 5070 Ti at 1440p using quality upscaling. This is Borderlands 4 here, right? Borderlands 4 upscaling performance at 1440p. 72 average FPS using the quality settings. Clair Obscur, they just used quality settings basically. And if we look at the 5070 Ti, where'd it go? 95 average FPS. So yeah, not quite 50% more. So DLSS upscaling is helping out quite a bit there. But here, getting back to the question, right? Are they basically going to use frame gen as an excuse not to optimize the game? I think we've just shown that probably there is more FPS to get. And honestly, I guarantee you, just like Borderlands 3, we will see performance patches come. In fact, he's promising in this thread, Randy Pitchford, the studio head, the CEO of Gearbox, he's promising that they're working on PC optimizations. My question to him, rather than lecturing us about DLSS, and by the way, when he says DLSS, I don't think he's just talking about upscaling. He is talking about frame gen. And this is part of NVIDIA's push to brand frame gen, instead of calling it frame generation, to brand it as DLSS, because people look at DLSS upscaling as a good thing, and it largely is amazing. But now they want to basically take this really ugly thing and smash it in there. So, oh, it's all DLSS. We're just talking about DLSS. No, we're not buying that. And that's, I think, what people are having a hard time with on a tweet like this. Use DLSS, it's great. Yes, I think he's not just talking about the upscaler again. He's talking about frame generation. Game was built to take advantage of it. Clair Obscur, by the way, was not built with frame gen built in. Borderlands 4 was. I've been led to believe that in a blind test that humans cannot detect any input lag. Humans cannot detect any input lag. Hey, did you know that, by the way, no matter how laggy your setup gets, you can't detect it? Come on, like, you don't have to gaslight us. Tell us, hey, we know it's not a perfect solution, but it should improve your gameplay. Like, say something that's not just randomly insulting. Please say something that's not randomly insulting. I don't have a problem if you want to make an argument for using the technology, but it does seem like, yeah, they are going to try and use this. And honestly, what can we really do? Well, I'll tell you, we can complain about it, and we can basically let everybody know that if this is what you're going to pull, you're gonna get raked over the coals. On Steam, the Steam reviews are gonna look terrible. It's gonna hurt your sales until you start listening to us. And honestly, that's the only things will ever change. Unfortunately, with NVIDIA, because they've gone so into the AI universe and that's where all their money comes from, we have very little, almost no voice as gamers into that. But you know who still has to listen to us? Game developers. Game developers still have to listen to us. So yeah, keep using your voice out there. All right, C-Daz asks, hey Jason, is the 7900 XT still a viable option? We get this question all the time, like all the time. I'm not even kidding you. I know the 9070 XT exists. I'm not really interested in all its bells and whistles if I can get a similar GPU with more VRAM. Okay, well, so 16 gigs versus 20. And then Kevin wants to know, is the 7900 XT worth paying $550 for? So let's settle this, because this is a good question, right? Because if you could get the 7900 XT at a significant discount over the 9070 or 9070 XT, or if you can get extra performance and you get a little bit more VRAM, would that be worth it to lose FSR 4? basically. Let's look at the numbers here. I think that's the easiest thing to do is let's actually look at the numbers. First of all, if we switch over here, the cheapest one I can find right now, $599. I can't find $550. If it was down at $550, maybe that would be worth it. Right now, it seems like there's a lot of these reference models. They don't even make reference model GPUs anymore since the last generation. Those usually come out first. They'd have to be sold for MSRP and everybody would have to make them for AMD, and then they could roll out their partner models afterwards. I don't know why all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of these, not just from XFX, but PowerColor and others, hit the market. It's kind of weird. Maybe they just ended up with a lot of extra coolers and they decided, let's sell these things anyway. $599, would that make sense right now? Well, what's the performance of the 7900 XT? It's basically at 1440p on launch. This is launch day, by the way. It was about where the 7900 XT was. 18 game average, 1440p at higher ultra settings. This is TechSpot's 9070 XT day one review. It did increase performance over time recently, whether that's drivers or whether that's game optimizations, I'm not really sure. And then at 4K, it did quite a bit better. 9070 XT had some separation there and started to approach like the 4080 basically. So in terms of does it make sense, if you get 7900 XT for $599 instead of the 9070 XT, would it make some sense? I mean, listen, I'm looking at this 9070 XT pricing right now in PC Part Picker. Can I make that a little bit bigger so people could actually read that? And let's get rid of the ones that are chronically out of stock. For $60 more, you could pick up a 9070 XT. Yes, you lose 4 gigs of VRAM. Is that 4 gigs of VRAM going to hurt you? I don't think so. I mean, the challenge with NVIDIA GPUs mostly are 12 gigs. The 16 gigs seem fine. Where they may run out of VRAM is when you also add in upscaling and then you also add in like high-level ray tracing, path tracing. That's where we're seeing stuff kind of run out of some VRAM from time to time, but only in like edge cases right now. 16 gigs seems to be the acceptable level in 2025 for 4K gaming, definitely for 1440p. And right now you can pick either the Steel Legend Dark Up, the PowerColor Reaper Up, or the ASRock Steel Legend, the white with RGB one, for $669 for $70 more. Or you can pick up the reference 7900 XT model. I have to tell you, just looking at the numbers, I would go with the 9070 XT. I'd spend an extra $60. If it gets down to $500, might make some sense. But you're going to lose out on FSR4. However, I am aware that it's very possible we are going to get FSR4 on the older RX 7000 series GPUs relatively soon, in the next 6 or so months. And it's not going to be as good as it is on the 9070 XT, just hardware difference, right? 9000 series versus the 7000 series. So there's a hardware difference on it. Yeah, if it gets down to $500 and these GPUs stay where they're at, might make some sense, but I would want at least $100 discount or so, question mark, because it's not just the difference between DLSS and FSR4, which are roughly equal, FSR4 DS. You're going to get a worse version of it. How much worse, I don't know. I'd want to see at least probably a $50 to $100 price premium, kind of like with the 5070 Ti versus the 9070 XT. That's kind of the price premium I'd want to see, $100, $150 in there before I pull the trigger. I have a 7900 XT sitting in this PC right next to me here. This is a 79, that's a PowerColor Hellhound 7900 XT, great GPU. I run an entire recording studio off of it, so it's no slouch, but yeah, then the 9000 series, it's better product, so I would probably go with that. 3D Chick asks my question: how did Ambrosius become Mr. Bear? Mr. Bear morphed from Ambrosius in a really funny way. So it was, I think we got him about 10 years ago, and he was pretty young. We had a friend, he needed to move to a new place, and he couldn't take the cat with him. He's like, I don't know what to do with this cat. Either I just need somebody to take it, or I have to take it to a shelter. So we said, hey, okay, give it to us. Let's see if this works out. And sure enough, we fell in love with Mr. Bear. Absolutely fell in love with him. He fell in love with us. And I don't remember what his name was before that. I've kind of just scrubbed it out of my brain, basically, because to me, he's always Ambrosius or Mr. Bear. We named him that because Sarah loves this movie called Labyrinth. Labyrinth is a movie. It's like an 80s movie with like Jan Henson puppets and stuff, and his goblins, and David Bowie's in it. I grew up with him. Great movie. Sarah loved it. And there's this knight, I think he's like a rat knight, and he rides a dog named Ambrosius. So we love that character. We named him Ambrosius after that. But Ambrosius, while it does kind of fit him, he's such a big cat. He is such a big cat. People don't realize how big he is for a cat. We call him the House Panther, but we called him Mr. Bear because he looked like a bear cub, basically. He looked like a baby bear cub. He was that big, and the name just stuck, so we just call him Mr. Bear all the time. Now, he will come to either Mr. Bear or to Ambrosius. He knows both of his names. He's actually a very, very smart cat. We're pretty sure he's a melanistic Bengal. So he should have stripes, but because he's melanistic, you can't really see them. But the thing about Bengal cats is that they're super, super smart. He's a little too smart for his own good sometimes too, let me tell you. We absolutely love him. We love the name Mr. Bear, and we call him Mr. Bear and Ambrosius interchangeably. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Like, did you check out, we just updated our best Ryzen motherboard 2025 guide for the fall. A lot of new motherboards have just come out, and we've got an update on that ASRock X3D situation in there as well. Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.